Rosie O'Donnell has finally spoken out about the wedding of Lauren Sanchez and Jeff Bezos. After MacKenzie, who was the salt of the earth, why would he pick her? Those were the precise words Rosie O'Donnell published on her Substack, dated June 30th, 2025. And that particular question struck a chord with so many, because it voiced a sentiment nearly every woman observing the Jeff Bezos wedding spectacle had privately held for the past 6 years. Until Rosie finally did not a single person in Hollywood possess the courage to articulate that thought publicly. This is because Rosie O'Donnell isn't just some arbitrary public figure chasing a headline. She stands as one of the very few American celebrities who for 3 decades has consistently voiced her unfiltered opinions, regardless of the personal or professional consequences. In the wake of Columbine, she confronted the NRA when others remained silent. She declared war on Donald Trump back in 2006 and never once retreated. This held true even as he relentlessly attacked her with every insult imaginable over the subsequent 2 decades. Rosie was just 10 years old when her mother succumbed to breast cancer, an early tragedy she claims has rendered her utterly intolerant of anything artificial or inauthentic. Therefore, when Rosie O'Donnell gazes upon the images from modern history's most lavish wedding and labels Lauren Sanchez a fake fembot wife, her words carry significant weight. People pay attention because Rosie has more than earned the right to make such a statement, and she absolutely did not hold anything back. As Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez exchanged vows in Venice during a ceremony reportedly costing $55 million, Rosie observed the entire opulent affair from afar, and then she unleashed on Lauren with unfiltered intensity, branding her a fake femabot. Observing the 27 different designer ensembles Lauren sported across 3 days, she wrote, posing for photos forgetting themselves in their designer outfits. She continued, ready for a Vogue cover, a spot on E.T., more worthless performative nonsense. Rosie condemned the whole event, describing it as a grand celebration of every toxic aspect of modern celebrity culture. However, Rosie's critique extended far beyond mere fashion commentary. She took aim directly at Jeff's very soul. Her words were stark. Sold his soul is what it looks like from here. The devil is smiling at all his conquests. And her reference to the devil smiling wasn't mere hyperbole. She was considering the complete and troubling picture of what this union truly symbolized. Here is a man who abandoned the mother of his 4 children for a woman whose own sibling peddled their private photos to the National Enquirer for a $200,000 payout. Michael Sanchez, Lauren Sanchez's brother, personally delivered private text messages and compromising photographs to a tabloid in exchange for money. This is the very family that Jeff Bezos chose to join. This is the partner with whom he decided to construct his future. Rather than choosing a path of quiet discretion, he opted to spend $55 million to stage the most grandiose celebration Venice has witnessed in years. He effectively transformed what many see as his most questionable life choice into a 3-day public spectacle for global consumption. Rosie took in this entire situation and articulated the very thing your own mother has likely been shouting at the news for the last year. He treats his employees with disdain. By any metric, he is not a nice man. She also wrote that Jeff himself was raised by a single mother. He knows exactly what he does, so do all of his guests. And Rosie certainly wasn't the only prominent woman to take notice of the situation. During her own charity gala that same weekend, Charlize Theron quipped to the crowd, "I think we might be the only people who did not get an invite to the Bezos wedding. But that is okay, because they suck and we are cool." Meanwhile, Katie Couric offered her own take, remarking on Lauren's wedding gown by saying, "Welcome to the 80s. She elaborated, "When big hair and conspicuous consumption ruled. Apparently tacky is back." The day following the nuptials, actress Mia Farrow made a pointed post highlighting MacKenzie Scott's extensive charitable work, all without uttering Jeff's or Lauren's name. Of course she didn't need to. The intended message was perfectly clear to everyone, yet it was Rosie who took it to the extreme, just as she consistently does. Her condemnation wasn't limited to just the bride and groom. She challenged the very morality of every single guest in attendance. Her writing declared, "We have become numb to gross excess. We have learned to tolerate it." The scathing critique continued, celebrity worship devoid of humanity, as we worship the ones hurting us. This wasn't merely one celebrity firing a shot at another. This was a 63-year-old woman giving voice to a sentiment that millions of ordinary people had been feeling but not expressing. The commentary exploded online for one simple reason: she was correct. However, Rosie's criticism didn't conclude with Lauren. She then targeted a public figure nobody could have anticipated, and her subsequent words are precisely why this controversy refuses to fade. She set her sights on Oprah Winfrey. Rosie posed the question, is Oprah friends with Jeff Bezos? Really? How is that possible? And with that single simple question, she inflicted a deeper wound than any of her comments about Lauren Sanchez. This is because criticizing Lauren Sanchez is a straightforward affair. The public had long ago formed its opinions about her. Oprah, on the other hand, was meant to be different. For 3 decades, Oprah Winfrey held the title of the most trusted woman in the nation. She was the one who consistently affirmed that you mattered. She had a unique ability to make her audience feel truly seen. Every afternoon, she would gaze directly into the camera and assure women all over the country that their suffering was valid and their personal narratives deserved to be heard. She built that incredible bond of trust by being profoundly honest about her own struggles and experiences. She built an empire on understanding their pain, her own astounding journey from Mississippi poverty to billionaire status. A whole generation of women grew up with Oprah as a constant presence on their televisions. They eagerly bought her book club selections. They were glued to their screens as she interviewed survivors of harrowing abuse and deep betrayal. They put their faith in her when she professed to understand the acute sting of being dismissed and the pain of being disrespected. And that is precisely why her actions in Venice felt like such a profound and personal betrayal. She traveled to Italy to observe a man who had been unfaithful to his wife marry the very woman he cheated with in a ceremony that cost more than most individuals will see in 10 lifetimes. She took a seat in a grand basilica on the island of San Giorgio Maggiore, enveloped by a crowd of other billionaires and celebrities. Positioned next to Kim Kardashian and Ivanka Trump, she beamed for the cameras as if this spectacle was something genuinely worthy of celebration, as though a man demolishing his family and then spending $55 million to celebrate it was an occasion deserving of applause. Those very women who grew up watching Oprah switched on their televisions and witnessed her stepping from a water taxi in Venice alongside Gayle King. She was making her way to a celebration hosted by a man who abandoned the mother of his children for a woman he was secretly sending explicit pictures to behind his wife's back, and the entire scene felt like a close friend choosing to side with the enemy. That is the betrayal Rosie was identifying. This wasn't a mere celebrity feud or a political disagreement, but the gut-wrenching experience of watching a trusted figure walk into a room overflowing with billionaires, and in doing so, forget her own origins. And the reason Rosie's critique of Oprah stung so much more than her comments on Lauren is that no one ever held high expectations for Lauren Sanchez. She was consistently going to be the person she is. Oprah, however, had told you she was cut from a different cloth. Oprah assured you that she understood, and then she boarded a plane for Venice and proved through her actions that she did not. And while this was all unfolding as Oprah was being photographed on Venetian water taxis and posing for cameras, the actual citizens who reside in that city were out protesting. Hundreds of Venetians were actively marching in the streets, parading through their own neighborhoods, while 200 celebrities were being chauffeured across the lagoon in luxurious private boats, while superstars like Lady Gaga and Elton John performed at a lavish masquerade ball inside the historic arsenal. Ordinary people were standing just outside, holding signs and chanting. One of the protest organizers stated it plainly, "We are not demonstrating against weddings. We are demonstrating against the portrayal of Venice as a city that you only visit in order to consume." And not one individual at that wedding seemed to notice or give it a second thought. But this is where the narrative takes a sharp turn. Because while Jeff was pouring $55 million into a 3-day party and Oprah was smiling for the cameras back in the United States, MacKenzie Scott was doing what she consistently does. She was quietly donating money to food banks, mental health initiatives, historically black colleges and shelters for women, with absolutely no strings attached, and 0 press conferences. By the close of 2025, MacKenzie Scott had given away a total of $26.3 billion. That incredible sum went to more than 2,700 organizations, with a staggering $7 billion of it distributed in 2025 alone. $7 billion, all while her ex-husband was spending $55 million on a display of excess. That jarring contrast tells you everything you truly need to know. It is the reason Rosie's words landed with such force, because when she posed the question, why would he choose her after the salt of the earth, MacKenzie, she was giving a powerful voice to the silent indignation of every person who has ever watched someone they cared about choose hollow spectacle over real substance. MacKenzie Scott was there from the very inception. She was sitting in the van when Jeff drove across the country to launch what would become Amazon. She was drafting the business plan from the passenger seat as he handled the driving. She was present in that foundational garage in Bellevue, Washington. She was personally packing books into boxes and handling the shipping herself. She was instrumental in building one of the largest corporations in the history of the world. And when her husband's actions destroyed their marriage, she walked away with $38 billion and almost instantly began the process of giving it all away. She signed the giving pledge before the ink on the divorce decree was even dry. She gave no interviews. She did not author any tell-all books. She refused to embark on a press tour to ruin the reputation of the man who betrayed her. She could have publicly incinerated Jeff Bezos' reputation, and it's unlikely anyone would have held it against her. She possessed every right to do so, but instead she quietly transformed into the most generous philanthropist of her entire generation, and she simply allowed the astounding numbers to speak for themselves. Take a moment to truly consider that. A woman who was subjected to public humiliation because of her husband's affair, who had to watch her private life get ripped to shreds on every single news channel in the nation, whose divorce settlement became the most expensive in all of human history. That very woman took the money, maintained a dignified silence, and began saving lives with it. While Jeff was busy purchasing a $500 million yacht and planning a $55 million wedding, MacKenzie was channeling funds to domestic violence shelters. She was clearing student lunch debt at schools most people had never heard of. And here is the crucial detail most people overlooked about the wedding itself. Jeff Bezos' own legal team had to spend months preparing what sources referred to as a presidential-level national security threat review. This was a document that would permit Lauren Sanchez to obtain a top-secret security clearance. It was something she reportedly wanted for her work with the Bezos Earth Fund and her known passion for aviation. But what the press corps failed to report is that it was also a document meticulously engineered to protect Jeff from the possibility of blackmail. An ironclad prenuptial agreement before the ceremony could even be scheduled. Just consider what that truly signifies. When Jeff married MacKenzie back in 1993, he was a nobody. They were simply two individuals embarking on a life together, fueled by a dream, and operating out of a rented garage. No prenup was ever discussed because there was nothing of value to protect. Their foundation was absolute trust. 25 years down the line after that, trust had constructed a $200 billion empire. MacKenzie departed with her $38 billion share and never uttered a single disparaging word about him. Yet when Jeff married Lauren Sanchez, the world's wealthiest man suddenly required a squadron of lawyers to guarantee he wouldn't part with his fortune a second time. He clearly does not have faith in his second wife in the same way he had faith in his first. And if that detail doesn't reveal everything about this new marriage, nothing ever will. Jeff Bezos considered the woman who was his partner in building everything from scratch in a Seattle garage, the very woman who was there before the first cent was earned, before the first order was placed, and before Amazon was anything more than a wild idea, sketched out on a napkin inside a moving van, and he instead chose a woman whose own brother allegedly betrayed her for $200,000. He looked at the woman who is distributing billions of dollars without ever requesting a single photograph, and he chose the woman who paraded in 27 different designer outfits across just 3 days in Venice. He considered the woman who helped earn it, and he opted for the woman who simply married into it. Rosie O'Donnell called it precisely what it is. It looks like he sold his soul from where we're all standing. The devil is surely smiling over all of his new acquisitions. But here is the reality Jeff Bezos will likely never comprehend, and something Rosie O'Donnell already grasps. MacKenzie Scott won. She was victorious the day she walked away without causing a dramatic scene. She won when she signed on to the Giving Pledge. She won every single time she contributed another $1 billion without organizing a press conference to announce it. She was victorious when Mia Farrow commended her the day following the Venice wedding without even needing to speak Jeff's name. She won again when Rosie O'Donnell, a woman who has never shied away from saying what everyone else is, evaluated everything Jeff Bezos has transformed into and declared MacKenzie to be the salt of the earth. Because MacKenzie Scott has no need to speak a single word. She never has. She allowed $26 billion of genuine generosity to stand beside $55 million of pure spectacle, confident that anyone with eyes to see could tell the difference. And they can. They always could. Rosie just said it with more volume than anyone else had the courage to. And then there's Oprah, the woman who spent 30 years instructing other women to believe their instincts and cherish their own worth, who decided to stand on the completely wrong side of this particular story. That is the part that will likely never heal. That is the detail that feels deeply personal. Because Oprah didn't just show up at a wedding. She publicly endorsed a man's most catastrophic decision in front of the entire world, all while the woman he had wronged was quietly saving lives with the very money he owed her. And through it all, MacKenzie Scott still hasn't said a word about any of it. Not regarding the wedding. Not regarding the $55 million spectacle that was meant to portray Jeff as a king, but only succeeded in making him appear to be a fool. She doesn't need to. The rest of us will say it on her behalf. If you wish to see exactly how Jeff's transformation unfolded step by step, and why every single choice he has made since the divorce continuously proves MacKenzie was right, that video is appearing on your screen right now. Click on it before it vanishes.